The night should have been hers. The full moon stood high, bright, unforgiving, watching everything. Elena stood at the center of the clearing, heart steady, eyes locked forward. Because tonight, everything was supposed to change. The bond ceremony, the moment every wolf waited for, the moment that defined everything after. And she was ready. She had always been ready. The pack surrounded her, silent, expectant, waiting, and at the front, him, the alpha, the one she had felt for months, that pull, that connection, that certainty. Mate, her mate. His eyes met hers, but there was no warmth, no recognition, no acceptance, only cold. Elena, he said. Her name felt wrong in his voice, flat, distant, and suddenly her instincts screamed. Something wasn't right. This bond, he continued. A pause. Then, I reject it. Silence exploded. Not noise, shock, disbelief. Because that didn't happen. Not like this, not in front of everyone, not during the ceremony. Her chest tightened, but she didn't move, didn't break, because she refused to. You don't mean that, she said, her voice calm, too calm, because if she let it crack, everything would. The alpha stepped forward, closer, but not to accept her, to end it. I do. A pause, then, I won't be bound to something weak. The words hit, harder than any blow, because it wasn't just rejection, it was judgment, public, final. The pack shifted, whispers rising, because now this wasn't just a broken bond, this was humiliation. Elena felt it, every stare, every doubt, every silent agreement. Weak, the word echoed, louder than anything else. You're making a mistake, she said. But now there was something different in her voice, not pleading, warning. The alpha laughed, low, dismissive. I don't make mistakes. A pause, then, I choose power. And with that, he turned away, ending it, breaking it, publicly, completely. The bond snapped, not clean, not silent, violent. Pain ripped through her chest, dropping her to one knee, breath gone, vision blurring. Because bonds weren't meant to be broken like that. Not rejected, not denied, not destroyed in front of everyone. The pain spread, faster, deeper. Wrong. Elena gripped the ground, trying to hold on, trying to stay conscious. But something wasn't right. This wasn't just heartbreak. This was something else. Something ancient. Something buried. The moon above flickered, just for a second, barely noticeable, but real. And then it changed. The light shifted. Subtle, but wrong. Not soft, not distant. Focused. On her. Directly. The pack didn't notice. They were too busy watching her fall, too busy judging, too busy looking away. But she felt it. That pull, stronger than the bond had ever been. Deeper, older, impossible. Her breath hitched. Because now, the pain wasn't just pain. It was opening. What is this? She whispered. The ground beneath her trembled, slightly, the air thickening, the light intensifying, and then it happened. A mark, burning into her skin, at her neck, where the bond should have been. But this wasn't a mate mark. This was something else, something no one had ever seen. Elena screamed, not from pain, from power, because it wasn't breaking her, it was rewriting her. The alpha turned back, too late, because the moment he saw it, his expression changed, from arrogance to confusion to something worse. Fear. That's not possible, he said. But it was already done. The mark glowed, bright, unstable, alive, and the moon above responded. Because she hadn't been rejected, she had been chosen by something far more dangerous than any alpha, and now everything was about to change. The silence didn't last. It shattered. Voices erupted all at once, confusion, fear, denial, because what they were seeing should not exist. Elena was still on her knees, breathing hard, her body shaking, but not from weakness anymore, from something else, something rising, something alive. The mark on her neck pulsed again, light spilling from it, soft, but wrong, not like a mate bond, not like anything they had ever seen. Step back. The order came instantly, sharp, commanding. The alpha. His voice had changed, no longer dismissive, now controlled, careful, because he felt it. Of course he did. Something had gone wrong, very wrong. The pack moved, not toward her, away, instinct overriding loyalty, overriding curiosity, because whatever she was now, she wasn't safe. Elena, one of them whispered, but didn't step closer, didn't dare, because her presence had changed. Elena lifted her head slowly, her vision clearing, but different, sharper, deeper. She could feel them, all of them, not like before, not through instinct, through something else, something stronger, more precise. "You feel that?" she said, her voice low, almost calm, too calm. The alpha stepped forward again, but this time he didn't get too close. "What did you do?" The question was wrong, and they all felt it, because this wasn't something she caused. Elena's eyes locked onto him, cold, focused. "I didn't do anything." A pause. Then, "You broke it." Silence fell again, heavy, because that was true, and now, whatever this was, it had happened because of him. The mark flared again, brighter this time, and suddenly, everyone felt it, not just her. The pressure, subtle but undeniable, like something was watching through her. The alpha's jaw tightened. "Kill it." The words dropped, immediate, brutal, final. Shock rippled through the pack, because that escalated everything. Eliminate it now. Not her. It. He didn't see her anymore, didn't recognize her. Only a threat. The wolves hesitated, because instinct was confused. She wasn't attacking, she wasn't unstable, but something about her felt wrong. "Do it," the alpha snapped, and this time they moved. 2 wolves lunged first, fast, trained, precise. Elena didn't react, not immediately, because she didn't need to. The moment they crossed a certain distance, the mark pulsed, hard, the air shifted, and both wolves stopped mid-motion, not by force, by hesitation, like something had told them not to. Their bodies trembled, eyes wide, confused. What? They couldn't finish, because they felt it, that pressure, that command, but it didn't come from an alpha. It came from her. The alpha stepped forward again, fury rising. "This is not possible." Elena stood slowly, no rush, no panic, just control, because now she felt it too, that connection, but not to one, to all. "You still think I'm weak?" she asked. A pause, then, "Try again." The challenge hung in the air, dangerous, provocative. The alpha didn't hesitate this time. He shifted, instantly, power surging, dominance flooding the clearing, the kind that forced submission, that broke will, that controlled everything around him. But this time, nothing happened. Elena didn't kneel, didn't flinch, didn't react. She just stood there, unaffected, And that changed everything. The alpha's eyes widened slightly, because that had never happened before. "I command you," he growled, the words heavy, full force, full authority. Elena tilted her head slightly, studying him, almost curious. "No," she said, and the word broke something, not loudly, not visibly, but deeply, because his command had no effect. None. The pack felt it, all of them, that shift, that crack, because if she couldn't be commanded, then she wasn't under him, and if she wasn't under him, then what was she? The mark pulsed again, stronger, and this time it spread, not physically, but in feeling, in presence, touching every wolf there, not controlling them, not forcing them, just reaching. The wolves stepped back, one by one, instinct screaming, because this wasn't an alpha. This was something else. The alpha clenched his fists. "You're not part of this pack anymore." Elena smiled slightly, not soft, not kind, cold. "Was I ever?" Silence. Because that hit. Hard. The wind shifted, the moon above glowing brighter, watching, always watching, because now this wasn't just about a broken bond. This was about something new, something dangerous, something that didn't belong to any alpha, and that was exactly why they terrified them. The alpha took a step back, just one, but everyone saw it, everyone felt it, because that was fear, and once fear entered a leader, everything started to break. "You don't understand what you've become." Elena's gaze lifted slightly, toward the moon, toward that presence, that pull, that power. "I think I'm starting to understand," she replied, and that was the moment, the exact moment, she stopped being the one who was rejected and became something else entirely, something they couldn't control, something they couldn't command, something they couldn't ignore. And now they had a choice: accept it or try to destroy it, and either way, they were already too late. The air changed again, but this time, it wasn't subtle. It was sharp, tense, ready to break. The alpha didn't step back again. He couldn't. Not now, not in front of the pack, not after what had just happened. Because if he did, he lost everything. "Elena," he said. Her name sounded forced now, controlled, like he was trying to regain something already slipping. "This ends now." Elena didn't move, didn't react. She just watched him. Calm, too calm, because now she understood something he didn't. This wasn't his ground anymore. The alpha shifted fully, bones snapping, muscle expanding, power surging. His wolf form towered over the clearing, dominant, violent, absolute. The kind of presence that crushed resistance, that demanded submission, that broke weaker wolves instantly. The pack lowered their heads instinctively, automatically, because that was how it worked. That was how it had always worked. But not her. Elena stayed standing, unmoved, unchanged. And that was the real threat. The alpha lunged. No warning, no hesitation, full force. A direct kill strike, the kind meant to end it instantly. But before he reached her, the mark ignited, violently. The air cracked, not metaphorically, literally. A shockwave exploded outward, invisible but undeniable. The alpha stopped mid-air, not by impact, by force he couldn't see, couldn't understand. His body froze, muscles locked, eyes wide, because something had just overridden him. What? He couldn't finish, because now he felt it. Not pressure, not dominance, something deeper, something older, something that didn't come from hierarchy, didn't come from strength, didn't come from him. The mark burned brighter, and suddenly every wolf in the clearing felt it, not as a command, not as control, as presence, absolute, unavoidable. The alpha dropped, not thrown, not pushed, forced to his knees. The sound hit the ground, heavy, unnatural, because that should never happen, not to him, not in front of his pack. The clearing went silent, dead silent, because everyone understood what that meant. Elena stepped forward, slow, controlled, deliberate. She stopped in front of him, looking down, not with anger, not with revenge, with clarity. "You felt it," she said. A pause. Then, that difference. The alpha tried to move, to stand, to fight it, but he couldn't, because whatever this was, it wasn't something he could overpower. It wasn't something he could resist. It wasn't something he could even understand. "This isn't dominance," he growled. Elena tilted her head slightly, studying him. "You're right." A pause. Then, "It's not." The words settled, heavy, because if it wasn't dominance, then what was it? The mark pulsed again, slower now, controlled, and something shifted, not in her, in them, the wolves, all of them. They weren't being forced down, but they couldn't step forward, couldn't act against her, couldn't even think about attacking, like some part of them refused, and they didn't know why. The alpha's breathing turned uneven, because now he felt it clearly, that difference, that gap between what he was and what she had become. "You're not an alpha," he said. A statement, not an insult. Elena nodded slowly. "No." A pause. Then, "I'm not." Silence stretched, because that answer was worse. Because if she wasn't an alpha, then there was no category for her, no rule, no structure, nothing to define her, nothing to limit her. The alpha's voice dropped. "What are you?" Elena didn't answer immediately, because the truth was still forming, still evolving, still becoming something else. She looked up, toward the moon, that light, that presence, that thing that had chosen her, and for a moment it felt closer, watching, responding. Then she looked back at him, her expression calm, certain. "I don't think you get to decide that anymore." The words landed like a final blow, because that was it, the shift, the moment power changed hands, not through strength, not through battle, through something deeper, something none of them had prepared for. The alpha's control was gone, not weakened, gone, and everyone felt it, everyone saw it, everyone understood. The hierarchy had just broken. The wind moved again, soft, but different, carrying something new, because now this wasn't just a pack with an alpha. This was something else, something unstable, something changing, and at the center of it was her, not leading, not commanding, but holding something far more dangerous, something that didn't need permission, didn't need acceptance, didn't need structure, and that terrified all of them, because if she didn't need the system, then the system couldn't control her, and if it couldn't control her, then everything they knew was already falling apart. It didn't stay contained. It couldn't. What happened in that clearing spread. Not through words, not through messengers, through instinct, through something deeper. Every alpha felt it, at the same time, across territories, across distance, across packs that had never crossed paths. A shift, a break, a silence where there should have been control. One moment, everything was as it should be. Clear hierarchy, defined power, stable bonds. And then, something snapped. Not violently, not loudly, but completely. In the Northern Territories, an alpha froze mid-hunt, his prey escaping unnoticed, because something had just touched his mind. Not a thought, a feeling. Wrong. In the eastern forests, another alpha lifted his head suddenly, eyes narrowing, because for a fraction of a second he felt his authority weaken. Not lost, but challenged, without confrontation, without presence, without reason. And in the mountains, the oldest alpha still alive opened his eyes slowly, because he knew. This wasn't random. This wasn't natural. This was a signal. Something had changed, and whatever it wasn't small. Back in the clearing, the silence had turned heavy. The pack hadn't moved, hadn't spoken, hadn't dared to, because everything they understood had just been rewritten. The alpha was still on his knees, breathing uneven, trying, failing to stand. Elena stepped back slightly, not retreating, just distancing, because now she felt it too, that ripple, that reach. They felt it, she whispered, not a question, a realization. The alpha's eyes snapped to her. What did you do? The question again, still wrong. Elena shook her head slightly. I didn't send anything. A pause. Then, but it spread anyway. Because this wasn't contained to her. This was something bigger, something connected to all of them. The mark pulsed again, soft but far-reaching, and suddenly she understood, not fully, but enough. It's not just power, she said. The pack listened, because now they had no choice. It's connection. Silence deepened because that word mattered. Connections between wolves, between alphas, between the moon and everything beneath it. And if she had changed that, then she hadn't just changed herself. She had changed the entire system. The alpha's voice dropped. You're saying they can feel you? Elena didn't answer immediately, because the truth was more dangerous than that. No, she said slowly, a pause. Then, they can feel that something is wrong. And that was worse, because alphas didn't ignore that feeling. They hunted it. The wind shifted, stronger now, carrying scents from far away, too far, unnaturally fast, and then a howl. Not from their pack, not from nearby, distant, powerful, answering something. Another followed, then another, different directions, different territories, same message. Recognition. The alpha's expression darkened. They're coming. Not all at once, not blindly, but they would come. because something had challenged the structure, and structure always defended itself. The pack shifted uneasily, because one alpha they understood, but many? That was something else. That was war. Elena stood still, listening, feeling, because the howls weren't random. They were searching, locating, closing in. "They don't know what I am," she said. A pause. Then, "But they know I shouldn't exist." The alpha forced himself to his feet, barely steady, but standing, because now this wasn't about pride. This was survival. "If they find you," he started. Elena looked at him, calm, focused. "They won't try to understand." She already knew. "They'll try to eliminate me." Silence confirmed it, because that's exactly what alphas did. Destroy what threatened order, destroy what broke rules, destroy what couldn't be controlled. The mark flared again, reacting, not to fear, to pressure, because something else, something beyond the alphas, was watching too, waiting, measuring. "You're not the only one who felt this," Elena said quietly. The alpha frowned. "What do you mean?" Elena's gaze lifted, toward the moon again, toward that presence, that awareness, that thing that marked me. A pause. Then, "It's watching how they react." Silence hit harder than anything before, because that meant this wasn't just an accident. This wasn't just power. This was a test, and she was at the center of it all. The howls grew louder, closer, more frequent, because now they had direction, they had purpose, they had a target. The alpha exhaled slowly. "They'll tear this place apart to find you." Elena didn't deny it, because that's exactly what would happen. But something in her expression shifted. Not fear, not hesitation, understanding. Then resolution. "Let them come." The words were calm, but heavy, because she wasn't running, she wasn't hiding, she wasn't denying what she had become. And that changed everything. Because now, this wasn't just about surviving them. This was about facing them, all of them, and proving that whatever she had become wasn't something they could erase. The wind howled again, carrying distant footsteps, approaching power, approaching war, and above it all, the moon watched, silent, unmoving, waiting, because the next phase had already begun. They felt him before they saw him. A presence. Sharp, focused, controlled. Not chaotic like the others approaching, not reactive, deliberate, different. The wind shifted direction, carrying his scent. Older, stronger, refined. The kind that didn't rely on brute force, but didn't need to. The pack stiffened instantly, because this was not just another alpha. This was one of the ones you heard about, but never faced. "He's here," someone whispered. Too late, because he was already inside the clearing. No sound, no warning, just there. Standing at the edge of the broken ground, tall, still, watching. His eyes moved slowly across the scene, the damaged earth, the shaken pack, the alpha who had fallen. And then, her. They locked eyes, and for the first time since this began, someone didn't react with fear, didn't react with confusion, didn't react with hostility. He observed, carefully, like he was studying something, not threatening something. "You're the one," he said, his voice low, measured, not aggressive, not submissive, certain. Elena didn't answer immediately because she felt it, that difference. He wasn't resisting her, but he wasn't affected either, not like the others. You felt it, she said. A pause. Then, you followed it. He nodded slightly. I did. The pack shifted uneasily, because this wasn't how it was supposed to go. No dominance display, no immediate attack, no challenge, just conversation. The alpha of this pack growled low, trying to reassert something, anything. This is not your territory. The newcomer didn't even look at him. Not anymore, he said, calm, dismissive, because whatever authority existed here had already broken, and everyone knew it. His gaze returned to Elena, focused, sharp. You changed something. Not a question, a conclusion. Elena tilted her head slightly. So did you. A flicker of interest crossed his expression, small but real, because she had seen it, felt it. He wasn't untouched. He was resisting, actively. How? He asked, direct, no hesitation, because unlike the others, he wasn't trying to destroy what he didn't understand. He was trying to understand it first. And that made him dangerous in a different way. Elena took a step forward, the mark pulsing softly, reacting to him, to something in him. You're holding it back, she said. A pause. Then, that connection. The clearing went still, because now, this wasn't just about her anymore. This was about him, too. His jaw tightened slightly, barely noticeable, but enough. You're not wrong, he said. A pulse hit the air, different this time, stronger, controlled, his power surging, but not outward, contained, locked, like he was holding something back with everything he had. You decide what I am, he continued, a pause. Then, not whatever marked you. The mention of it shifted something, the air, the pressure. The moon above responded, subtly, but enough. Elena felt it immediately, that attention sharpening, focusing, because now this wasn't just about her anymore. This alpha, he mattered. You think you're separate from it, she said. He didn't answer, because part of him knew. That wasn't entirely true. Another howl echoed, closer, more alphas approaching, more pressure building, more conflict about to unfold. But neither of them looked away, because this was the real moment, not battle, choice. You can fight it. A pause. Then, or you can understand it. His gaze didn't waver. And if understanding it means losing everything? Elena's expression didn't change. Then maybe what you're holding on to, a pause, then was never yours to begin with. Silence snapped, because that challenged everything he believed, everything he built, everything he controlled. The wind rose, stronger, more alphas nearing, more power converging, more chaos about to unfold. He exhaled slowly,
decision forming, not complete, not final, but shifting. You're not what they think you are. A pause. Then, but you're not safe either. Elena didn't deny it, because she knew, better than anyone. I never said I was. Another step forward, closer now, tension rising. Because this could still turn into a fight, at any second. Between two forces, neither fully understood, neither fully controlled, and both changing the world around them. The first alpha of the pack watched, powerless. Because now, this wasn't his territory anymore. This wasn't his hierarchy. This wasn't his world. This was something else. Something new. Something unstable. And at the center of it stood two beings that no longer fit into anything that existed before. And whatever happened next would decide everything. Because this wasn't just about strength anymore. This was about what came after power. And neither of them had the same answer.
They didn't arrive quietly. They didn't wait. They came like a storm, one after another, from every direction. The forest couldn't contain it. Branches cracked, ground trembled, air thickened with power, layer upon layer, until breathing itself felt heavy. The pack backed away instinctively, because this was something they had never witnessed before. Not one alpha, not two, many. Different territories, different strengths, different rules, all converging in one place for one reason. Her. Elena stood still, at the center, the mark pulsing slowly, not reacting in fear, reacting in awareness. Because now, this wasn't just pressure, this was a network, a system of power colliding. "They've found you," the alpha beside her said, his voice low, tense, not afraid, but alert. Elena didn't look at him. I didn't hide. The first alpha stepped forward, massive, scarred, eyes burning with raw dominance. "This ends now," he growled. No hesitation, no curiosity, only intent. Eliminate. Another stepped beside him, older, calmer, but just as dangerous. "We don't understand what she is," he said. A pause. Then, "That makes her a threat." A third alpha moved forward, but didn't speak immediately. His gaze locked onto Elena, studying, measuring, different from the others, because not all of them came for the same reason, and that was the problem. The clearing filled with tension, not unified, divided, unstable. The original alpha of the pack stepped back further, because now he was irrelevant. This wasn't his fight anymore. This wasn't his decision. This was something bigger, something beyond him. The first alpha surged forward, testing, not full attack, a push, a dominance wave, heavy, crushing, enough to force submission from any wolf alive. The pack dropped instantly, unable to resist, forced down, even the stronger ones, even those who had trained for years, because this was layered dominance, multiple alphas reinforcing each other, amplifying, stacking power. Elena didn't move, didn't kneel, didn't even react, but this time something else happened. The mark pulsed, not outward, inward, and then spread, not as force, as influence, subtle, fast, silent. The wolves on the ground felt it first. The pressure didn't disappear, but it changed. Less absolute, less crushing, like something was interfering with it. The alphas noticed instantly. What is this? The older one frowned, because their combined dominance was being altered, not blocked, not broken, changed. She's affecting the structure, another said. Elena's eyes moved slowly across them, because now she saw it clearly, not just individuals, connections between them, how their power linked, how it reinforced, how it depended on agreement, hierarchy, recognition. And suddenly, she understood something dangerous. They're not as united as they think, she said quietly. The words hit, because that was true. Each alpha carried his own authority, his own rule, his own territory. They weren't one system, they were many, temporarily aligned. And that could break. The external alpha beside Elena stepped forward slightly, not attacking, not defending, observing, because he sought it too. The flaw, different from before, not in power, in unity. They rely on consensus, Elena continued. The first alpha growled, silence. But the word didn't land the same way, because now others were really listening, not just to him, to her, and that weakened him, just slightly, but enough. The third alpha stepped forward, eyes narrowing. You feel it too, don't you? He said, not to Elena, to the others. A ripple passed through them, because yes, they did. That subtle shift, that interference, that doubt, and doubt destroyed structure faster than anything. She's dividing us, one snapped. Elena shook her head slowly. No. A pause. Then, I'm showing you what's already there. Silence cracked, because that was worse. The first alpha lunged, this time full force. No test, no restraint, a direct attempt to end it. But before he reached her, two others moved, not to help him, to stop him. The impact collided mid-air, power crashing against power, shockwaves ripping through the clearing. Because now they weren't unified anymore. They were reacting differently, acting separately, breaking formation. She's destabilizing command, someone shouted. The external alpha beside Elena exhaled slowly, because now it was clear. This wasn't just power. This was influence, structural, deep, irreversible. You're not controlling them, he said quietly. Elena glanced at him. No. A pause, then, they're choosing, and that changed everything. Because if alphas started choosing differently, instead of acting as one, then the system collapsed. Another clash erupted, two alphas turning on each other, not fully, but enough to break alignment, enough to destroy coordination, enough to create chaos. The clearing became unstable, not from her power, from their division. And above it all, the moon watched, brighter now, more focused, because this was the real test. Not strength, not survival, change, and whether the system could survive it. Elena stood at the center, not attacking, not commanding, just present, and that alone was enough to break everything around her. Because she didn't need to dominate, she didn't need to force, she just needed to exist as something they couldn't control. And now they were tearing themselves apart trying to decide what to do with her. The external alpha stepped closer, his voice low, serious. This is only the beginning. Elena didn't look away from the chaos unfolding. I know. A pause, then, and next time. Her eyes lifted slightly toward the moon, toward that presence. Next time, it won't just be them, because something else was coming, something beyond alphas, something older, something that wouldn't hesitate, wouldn't divide, wouldn't question. And when it arrived, this chaos, this would look small. The ground trembled again, but this time it wasn't from the alphas, it was from something else, something deeper, something awakening,
and every alpha felt it at once, and for the first time since they arrived, they all stopped fighting, because whatever was coming was worse than her. Much worse.
The ground didn't just tremble, it responded, like something beneath it had heard the call. Every alpha went still, not by choice, by instinct, because whatever was coming was not something they could dominate, not something they could fight the way they understood. The air grew heavier, not from power, from presence, ancient, unmoving, absolute. Elena felt it first, not as pressure, as recognition. The mark on her neck burned, not painfully, sharply, like it was reacting, answering. The moon above flared, brighter than it had all night, and then the light bent, not naturally, not like reflection, like something was passing through it, using it. The forest darkened, shadows stretching in unnatural directions. Sound faded, even the wind stopped. And then it appeared, not stepping into the clearing, forming inside it, like it had always been there, just unseen. A figure, but not fully, edges shifting, unstable, too large to be contained by shape, too defined to be nothing. The alphas stepped back, every single one, without exception, because their instincts were screaming, not danger, not threat, something worse, irrelevance. "What is that?" one whispered. No one answered, because no one knew, except Elena, not fully, but enough. "It's not here for you," she said quietly. The thing moved, not walking, not shifting, repositioning, like space itself adjusted around it. Its focus landed on her, direct, unavoidable. "You carried the mark." The voice came, but not from it, from everywhere, layered, deep, impossible to locate. The alphas flinched, because that voice was not something meant to be heard. Elena didn't move, didn't step back, because she understood something they didn't. This wasn't an enemy, not yet. "You answered it," she said quietly. A pause, then, "Or it answered you." The thing didn't react immediately, because time didn't seem to affect it the same way. "The mark is not given lightly." The voice again, slower, measured, ancient. Elena felt the truth in that, deep, resonating. "I didn't ask for it," she said. The response came instantly. "You were not asked." Silence crushed the clearing, because that changed everything. This wasn't a gift, this wasn't a reward, this was selection. The external alpha stepped forward slightly, carefully. Even he measured his movement now. "What is she?" he asked, not demanding, not challenging, requesting, because that was all he could do. The thing didn't look at him, didn't acknowledge him, because to it, he didn't matter. "Unresolved," it said. A pause, then unfinished. Elena frowned slightly. What does that mean? The mark pulsed again, stronger, reacting to the presence. "To carry the mark," it continued, "is to stand between what is and what will be." The words settled, heavy, because they weren't meant to comfort, they were meant to define. "You are not what you were," it said. A pause, then, "You are not yet what you will become." The alphas shifted uneasily, because now this wasn't just about her, this was about change at a level they didn't control, didn't understand, didn't want. The first alpha stepped forward again, despite everything, despite instinct, driven by fear disguised as anger. "This ends now," he growled. The thing didn't move, didn't react, didn't acknowledge him, because it didn't need to. The moment he took another step, he stopped, not forced, not attacked, removed, just not there anymore. Silence collapsed instantly, because that was worse than death. No struggle, no resistance, no fight, just erased from presence. The remaining alphas froze completely, because now they understood. This wasn't something they could challenge. This wasn't something they could resist. This was something above them. "Elena," one whispered, but she didn't look at them. Her focus stayed on it, because this was the real moment. Not them, not the pack. This. "You're not here to destroy me," she said. The thing tilted slightly, a distortion more than a movement. "Not yet." The words hit cold, precise, because that meant possibility, future, condition. "What decides that?" she asked. The mark burned, harder, brighter. The thing responded, "You." Silence shattered, because that was unexpected, unpredictable, dangerous. "You carry deviation," it continued. A pause. Then, "You will either correct the system or collapse it." The alphas stiffened, because that was everything. Their world, their cower, their structure, all tied to that outcome. "And if I refuse both?" Elena asked. The thing stilled for a fraction of a second, which meant the question mattered. "That is not an option." The air tightened, because now this wasn't just a test. This was inevitability, choice within constraint. Elena exhaled slowly, because now she understood. Not everything, but enough. This wasn't about survival. This wasn't about power. This was about direction, what she would become, and what that would do to everything else. Behind her, the alphas didn't move, didn't speak, didn't breathe too loudly, because now they weren't the center anymore. They were witnesses to something far beyond them. The thing began to shift, fading, not leaving, withdrawing. "The next phase begins," it said. A pause, then, "Decide what you are." And just like that, it was gone. Not disappeared, not vanished, simply no longer there. The forest exhaled, sound returning, wind moving again. But nothing felt the same, because now they knew. This wasn't just a conflict. This wasn't just a change. This was a turning point, and whatever Elena chose next would decide everything, not just for her, for all of them, and maybe for something far beyond even this. No one spoke, not at first, because what had just happened was beyond anything they had prepared for. One of them, gone. Not defeated, not killed, erased. And the one responsible hadn't even acknowledged it. The silence stretched, heavy, unstable. Every alpha in the clearing felt it, that shift, that realization. They were no longer at the top, and that was something none of them knew how to handle. Elena didn't move, didn't speak, but the mark on her neck pulsed slowly, steady, alive, like it was waiting, watching. The external alpha stepped forward first, breaking the silence, not aggressively, not cautiously, decisively. "They gave you a choice," he said, his voice low, focused. Elena glanced at him. "Yes." A pause, then, they also made it clear I don't get to avoid it. The others shifted, because that meant inevitability, and inevitability forced action. The older alpha stepped forward next, carefully, measuring every movement. If what that thing said is true, he began. A pause. Then, you either stabilize what we are, his eyes hardened, or you destroy it. The words landed, clear, simple, terrifying, because there was no middle ground, no safe path, no compromise. Elena exhaled slowly, because now it wasn't just her decision, it affected all of them. Everything. You're wrong about one thing, she said. The alpha frowned. What? Elena's gaze moved across all of them, one by one, seeing them differently now, not just as leaders, as pieces, parts of something larger. It's not about what you are now, she said. A pause, then, it's about what you become next. Silence shifted, because that reframed everything. The first alpha to attack earlier stepped forward again, more cautious now, but still aggressive. We don't need to become anything, he snapped. A pause, then, we already rule. The external alpha beside Elena glanced at him, cold. You rule because the system allows it, he said. A beat. Did you not just see what happens when something above it decides otherwise? That shut him down, instantly, because he had no answer. None of them did. Elena stepped forward, the mark glowing slightly brighter, not violently, not aggressively, present. You felt it, she said, her voice calm, controlled. Your power isn't yours alone. A ripple passed through them, because they had that connection, that structure, that invisible system that allowed dominance to exist, to work, to matter. And if that system changes, she continued, so do you. The older alpha's expression darkened. Then we stop it. Simple, direct, predictable. Elena shook her head slightly. You can't. A pause. Then, you saw what happens when you try. And they had, one of their strongest, gone, without effort, without resistance, without even being acknowledged as a threat. The clearing tightened again, tension rising, but different now, not just conflict, division, real, unavoidable. You're asking us to accept this, one said, not angry, not calm, uncertain. Elena met his gaze. I'm telling you it's already happening. Silence followed, because that was true. Whether they accepted it or not, the change had already begun. The external alpha stepped forward again, closer to Elena now, his presence steady, grounded, different from the others. If the system is changing, he said, then someone needs to guide that change. A pause, then, or it collapses. Elena looked at him, really looked at him this time, because now he wasn't resisting anymore. He wasn't holding back. He had chosen, not fully, but enough. You're not trying to stop me, she said. He shook his head slightly. No. A beat. I'm trying to understand what comes next. And that made him the first alpha to not oppose her, not out of fear, not out of weakness, but by choice. The others saw it, felt it, and reacted. That's submission, one growled. The external alpha didn't even look at him. No. A pause. Then, that's survival. The word hit harder than anything else, because that was the truth none of them wanted to admit. This wasn't about pride anymore. This wasn't about dominance. This was about whether they adapted or disappeared. Elena stepped forward again, now standing fully in front of them, not above, not below, but central, because that's what she had become, the center of change. I'm not asking you to kill, she said. A pause. Then, I'm asking you to choose. The mark pulsed, stronger, and this time they all felt it, not as pressure, not as force, as connection, like something above them was linking them, giving them awareness of each other, of her, of the system, of the shift happening in real time. You can hold on to what you were, she continued, her voice steady, unshaken, and be erased with it. A pause, then, or you can become something else. Silence broke, not with words, with movement. One alpha stepped forward, then stopped, then stepped back. Another turned slightly, uncertain, conflicted, divided. The structure was breaking, not from force, from choice. The external alpha moved last, stepping forward, stopping beside her, not behind, not in front, beside, clear, visible, final. I choose to see where this leads, he said, and just like that, a line was drawn, not in the ground, in reality. Because now, this wasn't one side against another, this was evolution against resistance, and it had just begun. Elena felt the mark pulse again, stronger, brighter, because something above them was watching this moment, this decision, this shift, and whatever came next would not be small, would not be contained, would not be reversible, because the system was no longer stable, and she was no longer just part of it. She was becoming something else, something that would decide what survived and what didn't. The choice didn't settle things. It fractured them, instantly. The moment the external alpha stepped beside Elena, the balance broke. Not slowly, not subtly, completely. Those who hesitated stepped back. Those who resisted stepped forward. And those who didn't understand froze. Because now, there was no neutral ground. You've chosen wrong, one alpha growled, low, dangerous. But there was something beneath it now, uncertainty, because even he had seen what happened earlier. He just didn't want to accept it. The external alpha didn't react, didn't even look at him. Then prove it, he said calmly. A challenge, but not reckless, measured, controlled. Because this wasn't about pride. This was about forcing clarity, and clarity meant conflict. The first strike came fast, too fast for most to follow. Two alphas lunged, not at Elena, at him, testing the one who chose her side. Power collided instantly, impact cracking the ground beneath them, shock waves ripping through the clearing. But this time, something else reacted. Not them, her. The mark flared, violently, not controlled, not deliberate, instinct. The moment the clash escalated, it answered. The air twisted, space compressed, and suddenly everything slowed. Not fully, but enough. Enough for everyone to feel it. What is happening? The words broke mid-sentence, because movement was no longer consistent. Some alphas moved normally, others lagged, like time itself was uneven. Elena's breath hitched, because this wasn't intentional. She hadn't tried to do this. It just happened. I didn't... She stopped, because the truth didn't matter. It was already happening. The mark pulsed again, harder, and this time it spread further, not just in the clearing, beyond it, into the forest, into the connections between them. The fighting broke apart, not by force, by disruption. No one could maintain rhythm, couldn't predict movement, couldn't control timing, because the system was no longer stable, and they felt it. All of them, even the ones resisting it, even the ones fighting it. This isn't control, one said, panic rising. This is collapse. Elena staggered slightly, because now it was affecting her too, her vision flickering, her sense of time shifting, stretching, compressing. unstable. "I can't hold it," she whispered. The external alpha turned to her instantly. "What's happening?" Elena shook her head. "I don't know." A pause. Then, "It's not stopping." And that was the real danger. Because before, she influenced. Now, she was destabilizing. Everything. The ground cracked again, but not from impact, from misalignment, sections shifting out of sync, reality itself struggling to stay consistent. The alphas backed away, even the aggressive ones, because now this wasn't a fight, this was something else, something they couldn't predict, couldn't counter, couldn't survive if it kept escalating. "You're losing control," one said, not mocking, stating fact. Elena didn't deny it, because she felt it, every pulse stronger, every wave wider, and something else beneath it, something building, something the mark wasn't containing anymore. "This is what they meant," she said, her voice unsteady now. "Collapse." The word echoed, because now they saw it too, not metaphorical, literal. If this continued, the system wouldn't just change, it would break, completely. The external alpha stepped closer, ignoring the instability, ignoring the risk. Then stop it. Simple, direct, impossible. Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I don't know how." The mark flared again, brighter than ever, and for a moment, everything froze, completely. Sound, movement, even breath, locked. And in that stillness, something shifted, not around them, above them. The moon, it changed again, the light intensifying, sharpening, focusing directly on her. And suddenly, she understood. Not everything, but enough. "It's not breaking," she whispered. The stillness cracked, movement returning in fragments. "What?" the alpha asked. Elena looked up, eyes wide, realization hitting hard. "It's evolving." Silence followed, because that was worse, because evolution meant unpredictability, and unpredictability meant no control. The mark pulsed again, but this time different, more stable, more defined, like it had crossed a threshold, like it had become something new. Elena straightened slowly, her breathing steadying, not because it was over, but because something had shifted internally, deep. "I can feel it," she said. A pause, then, "It's changing me." The external alpha didn't step back, didn't hesitate. "What does that mean?" Elena looked at him, but her eyes weren't the same anymore. Deeper, brighter, different. "It means..." A pause. Then, "I'm not the one losing control." The wind surged violently, the forest reacting again, but this time not collapsing, aligning, around her. The alphas felt it instantly, that difference, that shift, because now this wasn't instability, this was direction, unfamiliar, uncontrolled, but forming. And that changed everything again. Because if she wasn't breaking the system, if she was becoming part of something new, then this wasn't the end. This was the beginning of something far worse, or far greater, and none of them knew which. The external alpha exhaled slowly, watching her, really watching her, because now he understood something the others didn't. This wasn't about stopping her anymore. This wasn't about choosing sides. This was about surviving what she was becoming, and whatever came next would not ask for permission, would not wait, would not stop, because now the change had gone too far, and there was no going back. The world didn't wait. It never did. The moment the shift stabilized, everything else reacted. Not just the clearing, not just the alphas, everything. Far beyond the forest, bonds flickered, connections strained, some weakened, others changed. because what Elena carried was no longer contained to her. It was spreading, not like a force, like a rewrite. The alphas felt it instantly, across territories, across distance, that subtle, terrifying shift. Their authority was no longer absolute. Back in the clearing, no one moved, because now they were watching something unfold that they couldn't stop. Elena stood at the center, still, silent, but not the same, not even close. The mark on her neck no longer pulsed wildly. It glowed, steady, controlled, alive in a different way, not reacting, deciding. "You feel it," she said, her voice calm but deeper now, layered, not just hers. The external alpha stepped closer, carefully, respectfully, because now this wasn't just about power. "What did you do?" he asked, not accusing, not afraid, needing to understand. Elena didn't answer immediately, because the truth wasn't simple. "I stopped fighting it," she said. A pause. Then, "I stopped trying to control it." Silence followed, because that went against everything they believed. Power had to be controlled, dominance had to be maintained, authority had to be enforced, and she had done the opposite. "What does that mean?" one alpha demanded. Elena looked at him, and for the first time he stepped back without meaning to, because something in her gaze was no longer bound by anything he understood. "It means," she said slowly, "I'm not part of your system anymore." The words landed, final, irreversible, because that confirmed it. She hadn't just changed within it, she had stepped outside it, and something outside the system could not be controlled by it. The wind rose again, but this time it moved with her, around her, not randomly, aligned. The external alpha watched closely, because now he understood the real shift. "You're not just connected to it," he said. A pause, then, "You're replacing it." The clearing froze, because that was unthinkable. Elena didn't deny it, didn't confirm it, but her silence said enough. The older alpha stepped forward, slow, careful. "If that's true," he said, "then what happens to us?" The question echoed, because now this wasn't about stopping her. This was about survival, existence, continuity. Elena's gaze softened slightly, but not with weakness, with awareness. "You change," she said. A pause, then, "or you disappear." No threat, no emotion, just truth, because that was how this worked now. Not dominance, not hierarchy, evolution. The mark flared once, bright but controlled, and something shifted again, globally, not visible but felt. Every wolf, every alpha, every connection adjusted, not broken, rewritten. The external alpha exhaled slowly, because now it was clear. This wasn't destruction, this was replacement, a new system, a new structure, a new order, and she was at the center of it. "What are you becoming?" he asked. Elena looked up, toward the moon, that presence, that thing that started all of this, but now it felt different, distant, not gone, but no longer above her, not in the same way. "I don't think it chose me to fix anything," she said. A pause, then, "I think it chose me to change everything." Silence followed, because that was bigger than anything they had imagined, not correction, transformation, total, complete, unavoidable. The forest stilled, not in fear, in alignment, because now the system wasn't breaking, it was reforming, around her, through her, because of her. The external alpha stepped forward one last time, stopping beside her again, not as equal, not as subordinate, as something new, something undefined. "Then this world," he began, Elena finished it, "won't be the same." A pause, then, "It already isn't." The wind surged, the sky shifted slightly, the moon dimmed just for a moment, like something was adjusting, repositioning, reconsidering, because now it wasn't the only force shaping things anymore, and far beyond them, something else reacted, something unseen, something deeper than even what had appeared before, watching, learning, waiting, because change, this kind of change, never happened without consequences, and this was only the beginning. Elena took a step forward, not toward the alphas, not toward the pack, forward into something else, something unknown, something new, and this time nothing tried to stop her, because nothing could, and as she moved, the world moved with her, not following, not obeying, becoming, something different, something unstable, something powerful, something that no longer fit into anything that existed before, and somewhere, far beyond the moon, something opened its eyes, because whatever she had become, it had been noticed, and next time they wouldn't just watch, they would come, and when they did, this new world she created would be tested, not by alphas, not by systems, by something far worse, something that didn't adapt, didn't evolve, didn't change, something that only did one thing, erase. And this time, it wouldn't be just her in danger, it would be everything, everything she had just rewritten, everything she had just become, everything. And that was how it began.